What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Again, Game Week 17 is fast approaching. The World Cup is almost done. We only have the final left to play. So let's get into a few talking points and my latest draft. What is up, everyone? Welcome back. And today, as I said, Game Week 17 is fast approaching. I think just 10 days away on Thursday morning when I will be uploading it. We're going to have a look at my latest draft and a few more talking points before we go into it. So diving straight in, a quick reminder of the 3 double game weeks that we've had announced so far. Game week 19, we have Fulham against Chelsea added in, so you can see their doubles there. Fulham with probably the easier one. They have Leicester and then Chelsea, of course, have Manchester City as part of their double. Game week 20, Manchester City playing Manchester United and Tottenham. Some of you might be looking at a triple captaincy on Erling Haaland for that one. Then Spurs have Arsenal and Manchester City, probably the most difficult double game week that you could have, but it is worth considering the likes of Harry Kane and Kulusevski, and we'll talk more about those later on in the video. And then we, of course, have Game Week 23 where Manchester City double again. So it is worth bearing in mind where you want your triple Manchester City to be, because they do have 2 doubles in those weeks with Brentford and then Manchester City for Arsenal and Aston Villa and Arsenal for the Manchester City double. There are likely to be more double game weeks announced between Game Week 19 and Game Week 23. They'll probably be announced after the Cup games, which take place in the midweek before Christmas, in the midweek before the Game Week 17 starts. So do keep your eyes peeled. I will keep you updated on them, but that's what we know so far. Just a quick reminder of what's going on the channel in December. I've actually updated this slightly. 50% of all my ad revenue is going to charity during the month of December, and then 100% of all the money that you guys want to donate is going to charity. So if you donate super chats, you join as a member, all of that sort of stuff, that is 100% going to charity during this whole month. You can drop it on the bottom of the video, or you can wait for me to live stream, and then 50% of all the ad revenue. So if you're just watching this video, you watch the ad, you've clicked on it, you've liked it, you've subscribed, all of that is helping to support charity this month, and thank you very much. And going into one of, if not the biggest talking point at the moment in the fantasy football world, that is the injuries that we have heard for Diogo Jota and Luis Diaz as well. Jota is likely to be out for a number of weeks, likely to be returning to action around late January if there are no sort of issues or no prolonged injuries for him in his recovery stage. This means he's likely to miss about 4 or 5 game weeks of FPL. Luis Diaz, on the other hand, is likely to be out for a longer period of time, likely to be out until March, if not later, which means he's going to miss a minimum of about 10 game weeks in our FPL season. So what this obviously means is they're going to have to revert back to the front 3 they had before, of Firmino in that centre forward cam role, and then you're going to have Darwin and Mo Salah as the 2 strikers, which makes all of those 3 pretty nailed and really nice options. And even when Jota comes back, I still think Darwin and Mo Salah are going to be pretty nailed. I think Jota will be there to help release minutes on Firmino, who can't play as many minutes as the other 2, but it does really make me want to look at Darwin and Mo Salah, and we'll have a look at my draft and whether both of them or only one of them have made it in just a minute. But it is big talking point. A lot of us didn't know if Darwin was going to be thrown back in Game Week 17, but it looks like Klopp is going to have to. So to talk you through where my draft is at the moment, this is my latest draft. It is still Kepa and Danny Ward in goal. We've had a picture from Chelsea, although Kepa didn't take place in their most recent friendly. We have heard and we have seen that Kepa looks like he's back in Chelsea training. There are still 10 days until Game Week 17 takes place. Also, goalkeepers need less time in full training to go into a match because there is the lack of match fitness that other players are likely to have. So I do think Kepa will be fine for their Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest fixtures in their first 2, followed by the double game week. And then after that, I will rotate him with Danny Ward, who of course is in my draft, of course is in the majority of your drafts as well. My defence has not changed from the last time. There are a few changes in the midfield and in the attack as well. Patterson is in there as my cheap option. The Everton defender I do really like. There is a bit of doubt about whether I really want an Everton player. I could go for the likes of Tyrone Mings because I do have a slight amount of money in the bank. The majority of you probably don't have the same squad value as me, so you might need to keep Patterson. You might even need to downgrade elsewhere, but he's in there as my 5th defender and probably my 3rd sub every week. Cancelo is in there. A lot of you are thinking that he's maybe not worth the money that he is at 7.2 million at the moment. If you want to look at the likes of Kyle Walker, then potentially go for it. He is 4.8 million, but Cancelo is the one who's going to be the most nailed. They can play other players at right back. We've seen it with the likes of Ake can play at fullback. Even John Stones has done it before, but I just think Cancelo is the most nailed, and if I have the money to buy him, that's who I want to go and get. Then, of course, Trippier is going to be very, very popular for so many of us going into this. I don't have Nick Pope, but I still think defensively they are going to be a top team, and Trippier, of course, has that attacking threat. You could look at doubling up on Newcastle defence with the likes of Botman, or if you do want Pope in goal. I would advise going against Pope. The reason for this is Danny Ward is so good. I wouldn't want a goalkeeper any more than 4.5 million to pair alongside Danny Ward. If you're going and spending 5.5 million on the likes of Nick Pope, you're going to want to play them every week, which means you're going to be in the situation where you are benching Danny Ward in good games like a lot of us did going into the break. We know how many points he can score. Then Ben White and Diego Dalot are my cheap options. Again, we're just keeping an eye on Diego Dalot when he returns to Manchester United training again. Portugal did get knocked out in the quarter-finals. And then we have Ben White as well, who returned home early from England camp and didn't play a single minute for England in the World Cup. So I'm pretty certain that these guys are going to be my defence. My big aim is to pick a defence and goalkeepers that I like for the foreseeable future, and then I can use my transfers to rotate the attackers in and around their fixtures and in around their double game weeks as well. Moving into that midfield, the first one we have, Mo Salah has made it in here. I still want to go with him. Again, I can't see him being rotated anyway, but even with the lack of Jota and the lack of Diaz in there as well, he's going to have to play pretty much 90 minutes in every single game. He's going to have to score goals if they're going to want to turn the tide on the form they showed in the first portion of the season. Next to him, I've still got Martinelli. I don't love the Arsenal attack. I think their opening fixtures are not great, but they do, of course, have that double in game week 23, and from sort of about game week 22 onwards, their fixtures do come really nice. So I have a lot of value tied up in Martinelli, so I do plan on keeping him. I've also got Rashford. I think my last draft I posted did have Martial in here. I did prefer Rashford all along. It's just the squad structure I had to go and get Martial in that draft. 6.7 million for him is really nice. There's a lot of talk potentially about Bruno Fernandes. I do quite like him as an option, but he's just a lot of money, and if I'm going with the likes of Darwin, Haaland and Mo Salah, I just don't have the money to go and buy Bruno Fernandes, and I think Rashford at 6.7 million is a fantastic alternative. I've got Almiron in here as well, a bit of that Newcastle attack. I just don't think I'm going to have space for Callum Wilson, given that Mitrovic has a double game week in game week 19, given that Darwin looks nailed, given that Harry Kane is a top option, and then of course you want Haaland. I don't think I've got space in my forward line to go and get Callum Wilson, so I've gone with a cheaper option in Miguel Almiron, who I still think will do well, maybe not as well as he did before the World Cup, but I still think he will do well. And then finally, I've got Kulusevski. So I haven't got Kane in this draft. I've tried to cover the Spurs attack, and again, it looks like Richarlison is likely to miss a number of weeks. We don't quite know how long he's going to be out, but they do, of course, have that double game week in game week 20. And if Kulusevski is going to be back fit and starting, he's so crucial to the way that Spurs play, and I think he could be a really nice option in as my £8 million midfielder. Up front, I do actually have 3 forwards, so I've got no benched option in here, which is the only issue. I do have a lot of value. I do have a lot of team value that I can spend. I could downgrade Almiron to a 4.6 in the likes of Pereira, and if you don't have the money for this squad, that's probably the number one transfer I would do. But I could just bench one of these every week, depending on fixtures, depending on injury, depending on Christmas rotation as well. Up front, it is Darwin, Mitrovic and Haaland. Again, Haaland doesn't need that much explanation. We then have Mitrovic as the second one. Again, 2 nice fixtures followed by a double in game week 19. He'll be one of my top priority transfers out in game week 20, but I do think for the next 3 games, he'll be a really, really nice option. And then finally, Darwin. No doubles, but 9 million. We saw what he could do in game week 16 when he got those 2 goals. If he is nailed in that Liverpool lineup, I do think he'll get chances, and I do think he'll score goals as well. So 35k rank at the moment. I've currently got a team that I'd probably line up with a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 every week, depending on the fixtures, depending on who I'd want to bench every week. I'm pretty happy on it. I do still have some decisions I still need to make. Before we dive into those, we're going to try and hit 1,000 likes on the video. We are getting back to full FPL content for you ahead of Game Week 17 now that England are out of the World Cup and it is drawing to a close. First of all, let me know in the comments who you want to win the World Cup. Which are the final 2 teams do you want it to be? Smash that like button. Again, you are helping charity just by liking and subscribing. But let's get into those questions that are still to be answered. So my top 17 questions, a slight graphic that I've made. If you like it, let me know. I spent a little bit of time on this. It takes me way longer to make graphics than you probably think. It's not that great. There are others that make probably nice looking graphics, but I thought it looked quite nice. But the key questions I've still got to answer is, do I want my third forward to be Harry Kane? Do I want to be Mitrovic? Or even do I just downgrade them and go with Greenwood? I don't think it'll be Greenwood. The moment it is Mitrovic, as you saw in my draft, but I do really like the pull that Harry Kane has, and with that double game week on the horizon, even though it is quite difficult. That Harry Kane falls into all of the buckets. Basically, do I try and squeeze him in as my third forward? Or do I even go and drop Darwin, for example? Although I don't really fancy that as my option. Spurs coverage, again, is the next one. So I've got Kulusevski in there at the moment, but Harry Kane was so consistent the first half of the season. Again, second highest point scorer. No one's really talking about him, even though he's been so consistent. I am talking about him. I like him as an option. I just haven't been able to squeeze him in. And because that double game week is not that great in terms of fixtures against Manchester City and Arsenal, practically as difficult as it can get, Kulusevski is the one that I've decided to go with, given Richarlison is out injured. And then the final one is that sort of second premium. So I've got Darwin at the moment. I'm pretty happy with him. Haaland, of course, is going to be in there. At the moment, I've got Salah to double up on that Liverpool attack, and I've got him, Salah and Darwin in my lineup. I could go for De Bruyne and go for that triple Manchester City, which I don't currently have, despite them having 2 double game weeks on the horizon. Or I then could go to Harry Kane as well. I could sell Mitrovic, go to Harry Kane and downgrade Mo Salah to the likes of Phil Foden even, or someone like that in my lineup. So these are probably the 3 things I'm still toying around with, waiting to see potentially how fit Harry Kane is, how quickly he's going to come back in, a few of those other bits as well. That's my latest draft. We've had a few of the key talking points. We've had double game weeks, raising money for charity, all in one video. The FPL videos will be back. It won't be a week and a half, whatever it has been since I uploaded last time. Until Monday, there will be daily uploads for you. So from Monday until the Game Week 17 deadline, of course, not on Christmas Day, but all those 5 days, you will have a video from me every single day. We're trying to hit 40,000 subscribers before Christmas as well. If you can support me, if you can support charity as well, drop a like down below and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Turn on notifications to get a reminder of those videos and when I do my deadline streams as well. Thank you all so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of the World Cup. Enjoy your tinkering as well. And I'll be back again very soon.